Hello students, I am Dr. Radha from IIT Bhatal. What is stress? Stress is a dynamic condition in which a person is faced with lots of constraints while functioning in the organization. Stress causes discomfort which leads to disequilibrium in the individual's mindset. A minimal level of stress is required for the organization to operate effectively. Excessive stress is harmful for the individual as it causes mental and physical disequilibrium and subsequently leads to physical and mental disturbances. It's therefore necessary to identify causes of stress and discuss its remedies. We must keep in mind that stress is not always negative in nature. Stress is also a source of inspiration. When there is a stress for any work, it leads to higher performance, provided the stress is reasonable. And when the stress is gravest, it reduces implies productivity. Stress is always negatively related to the performance. The factors that cause stress, they are known as stressors. These stressors can be external as well as internal. External factors can be the social setting, work ethics in the organization, leadership styles, availability of resources, workload, level of technology, and the work environment, etc. Internal factors are psychological in nature, and these include emotions, ego state, outlook, observation, motivators, needs, and demographics. If an employee feels that external factors are not of much significance and have no grave consequences, the stress is not formed within the minds of individuals. High desires, uncertainty, result of promotion, examination, unrealized ambition may cause stress to the individual. Stress should not be confused with anxiety or nervous tension. These two problems occur as regular features in many cases but don't cause long term problems on the working ability of an employee. Anxiety may remain purely psychological and may not result in any physical harm. Likewise, only physical issues will not be the outcomes of stress unless it is felt by the mind and the heart. The psychological and physical harms are visible in the form of stress. Anxiety is the cause of stress but not otherwise. Now, what are the symptoms of stress? The stress can be mild, stiff, or chronic in nature. If the stress is of mild nature, one recovers from it easily. Mild stress is visible when a person develops a lack of appetite and high blood pressure. This stress becomes stiffer if these symptoms are not carefully countered. When stress attains a chronic stage, the person develops instability, frustration, and feels uncomfortable and fails to cope up with the problems. It affects physical efficiency and subsequently a psychological strength. This stage is called burnout. It is a troublesome outcome of stress. In this stage, individual becomes emotionally weak and exhibits exhaustion and negative attitude. Executives are highly prone to the burnout forms of stress due to very high job pressure. Emotional exhaustion results due to various factors like personal, job related, organizational stressors, high expectations from oneself, work overload, role conflict, and negative interpersonal interactions. If the treatment is not opted at this stage, a stage of trauma is reached. A very serious form of stress, trauma occurs when employees find it difficult to adjust. This may be caused due to pressures of work, late working hours, inability of employees to fulfill social obligation, poor time management, etc. This workplace trauma is carried home by employees and they develop various psychological disorders. General Adaptation Syndrome, also known as GAS. The General Adaptation Syndrome pertains to occurrence of individual's reaction to stressful events in the form of physiological, psychological, and behavioral patterns. These are of three types. The first is alarm stage. This is a warning stage. It occurs as a first sign of stress. During this stage, muscles become tense, pupils dilate, and there is an increased hormone flow, increase in both adrenaline secretions and respiration. Heart problem and high blood pressure are major symptoms of alarm stage. Regular physical exercises and specialist psychiatric treatment can prevent this occurrence. Second is the resistance stage. Failure in handling alarm stage in time leads to the resistance building up by body organs that exhibits its ill effects. During the resistance stage, individual is unable to rest and becomes irritable. There is increased nervousness, tension, frustration, and uneasiness in the routine work environment. Individual develops ulcer, loss of appetite, and illness. An individual may feel that he has overcome the stress situation, but its ill effects persist for a long time. It's therefore necessary to identify roots of stress and find a solution. Third is exhaustion. When the body as well as the mind is affected, it is implied that the stress has progressed to the stage of exhaustion. In this stage, the individual experiences physical and mental pressures and develops ulcers and high blood pressure. Exhaustion leads to irritability, negative attitude, and individual appears tired and shows vulnerability in his behavior. The organizations where employees suffer from exhaustion must take corrective action. Poor health of employees, coupled with negative emotions and depression, reduces the organizational effectiveness to a large extent. Large number of organizations have started to recognize the impact of stress and facilitate the treatment of their employees. Stress experience. All individuals do not experience stress with same intensity. Some people overreact to stressors and get stressed easily, whereas others have take it easy policy and they're less stressed. An individual's extent of expressing stress depends upon various factors. For example, one is the perception. An employee's perception of a situation is a decisive factor about the extent of experience of stress. A routine transfer to another place may be seen as problematic issue by one person, but it can be seen as an opportunity to have new experience by the other. Thus, this situation is stressful for the first person and not for the second one. Past experience is another factor. Sometimes a person may not experience stress due to his past experiences. Positive experiences about a situation in the past may not give stress, whereas past negative experience of the same situation may stress a person. For example, a person who was fired in the past because he couldn't achieve sales target will always carry this fear to his next job and hence stress will occur. Then there is social support. Presence of type of individuals at the workplace also increases or maybe decreases stress. Working along with a confident and knowledgeable co-worker in a stressed situation may help an employee behave in an identical way, while the opposite of this may not be true. Another factor is individual differences. Motivation, attitudes, personality, and abilities are unique for every individual. These factors also influence how a person responds to stress. For example, type A personality usually experience more stress as compared to type B personalities. work stress model. Work stress model was developed by Krippner. This model explains the relationship among stressors, stress, and outcomes with the help of moderators. These stressors, as we know, they lead to stress, and this stress leads to many consequences. Moderators are those variables which cause the relationship between the stress and the outcomes. And this relationship can be stronger for some people and it can be weaker for some others. First, let us discuss about the stressors or the sources of stress. These includes environment, organization, group or individual factors. These factors can cause stress leading to a significant effect on the performance of an individual. Individual stressors. Most common personal stressors are type of personality, role overload, role conflict, and role ambiguity. Personality. The type of personality of an individual defines his response to stress. Type A personality people are more prone to stress. Such people always move rapidly, they are impatient, they are always in hurry, they always do multitasking, try to do many things in a little time, and they don't have time to enjoy life. Whereas type B persons are less prone to stress because they exhibit opposite behavioral pattern as compared to type A. Type B people are not much concerned with time, they are very patient, they have no pressing deadlines, they love to enjoy life and they are not in hurry and they take life easy. So they are less stressed. Then we have role conflict. Role conflict is said to exist when the individual faces contradictory demands. A person may not be capable of handling two or more pressures at any one time. It leads to stress. It can be inter-role conflict or personal conflict. Inter-role conflict occurs when an employee has two roles which are in conflict with each other. It's common in matrix organizations where a subordinate has to report to two different bosses. Then we have personal conflict. It occurs when personal values of an individual are in clash with the organizational goals. For example, giving bribe to get projects may be normal in an organization, whereas it may be in conflict with the personal ethics of an employee. It will create stress. Another one is role ambiguity. Role is a set of activities associated with some positions in the organization. If these work activities are ill defined, the person will not be able to perform as expected. This is called role ambiguity. Role ambiguity is more pronounced within the organizations which are flexible in nature and tend to change with the environmental changes. Role ambiguity is also seen in managerial cadre where job-related duties, responsibilities and roles are not clearly defined, maybe due to general nature of job. Principle of unity of command is not followed, resulting into conflict about reporting channels. Role ambiguity can lead to psychological strain and dissatisfaction, and it can also lead to underutilization of human resources, and thirdly, feeling of ineffectiveness on dealing with the organizational environment. Another stressor can be the task structure. High stress jobs are those in which employees have little or zero control over the operations and work under time constraints, and they have major responsibilities for human beings and other resources. For example, defense services, police, foremen, managers, inspectors, etc. On the contrary, certain jobs like teachers, craft workers, farm laborers, etc., are low stress jobs. Studies have indicated that high risk of coronary disease is linked to high stress jobs. This is because of high psychological demand and high decision control over the jobs. Coming to the group level stressors, group cohesiveness, group norms, and importance of group objectives can have great impact on employees' mindset. Lack of cohesiveness creates conflict. Managers also create stress by exhibiting inconsistent behaviors, failing to provide support, showing lack of concern, providing inadequate direction, creating a high productivity environment by ignoring people's concern and by focusing on negatives rather than good results. Then there are organizational stressors. The organization mission and consequent departmental goals have a long lasting impact on the employees. Overambitious goals are the causes of stress among employees. Inadequate compensation, rigid rules, ambiguous organizational policies, faulty job designs, these cause tremendous amount of stress. Poor hygiene in the workplace, inadequate space, improper light, lack of physical security at the workplace are also stressors. Stress is caused by inadequate support from subordinates, conflicting job requirements, inadequate and poor performance measurement, and lack of employee empowerment. Managerial style, role of superior boss, command, and control mechanism also leave much to be desired in Indian organizations. Environmental factors. There are numerous environmental factors that cause a great deal of work stress among employees. These include societal, economic, financial, cultural, domestic, and technological factors. Stresses like family demands and obligations, race, caste, creed, ethnic identity, relocation due to transfer also cause adverse effect on individuals. Outcomes of stress. Stress can have many outcomes. These can be physiological, psychological, and cognitive. Important outcomes, let us discuss one by one. The first and foremost is stress and behavior. Stress is a psychological state which reflects biochemical reactions in the human body. There are desirable activities and undesirable activities in life that can cause stress. Stress created by desirable and successful activities is termed as eustress. Eustress is a positive, healthy, and developmental stress response. It leads to better performance and better adjusted personality. But stress caused by undesirable outcome is known as de-stress. It is primarily the de-stress form of stress that brings unwanted changes on physical and psychological well-being of the person. Just as enormously high level of stress is detrimental and harmful, similarly, exceptionally low level of stress is also equally harmful. It causes boredom, reduces innovativeness and ability to face challenge. Hence, a moderate level of stress is desirable for higher level of performance. People under stress are either defensive or offensive in their behavior. They withdraw socially and become isolated. It can result into either the frustration or anxiety. Frustration is known as an impediment to goal oriented behavior. Frustration occurs when desired goal is not achieved. Frustration is caused firstly due to delay in getting a promotion, non availability of various resources, or non attainment of goal. Anxiety, the feeling of inability and helplessness in formulating appropriate response for dealing with the anticipated negative outcomes. Factors like frequent changes in the organization's competition, job ambiguity, lack of job feedback, volatility in the organization's economic environment, job insecurity, or personal problems may lead to anxiety. Second is physiological response. When stress appears, immediate biochemical changes take place. Health problems start to surface when a person suffers from stress for long periods of time. It leads to breakdown of body's immune systems and may result in serious health problems such as hypertension, ulcers, and maybe a heart attack. High level stress can result in physical changes that threaten our health and well being. The third one is psychological response. People have different levels of handling stress. Those who are highly affected by stress are likely to be unhappy and depressed. They develop a feeling of helplessness. They develop a dread of unknown, display irritating behavior, become impatient, and tend to blame others for the inefficiency. Such employees lose confidence and display a low productivity. Now, most important part, how to manage the stress. The stress can be managed at two levels, individual level and at organizational level. It's clear that every individual has different capacity to cope with the individual stress. Some of the strategies that an individual can utilize to reduce the stress are: one, setting objective for the self. Every individual must set objectives for himself according to one's abilities and skills. Objectives must be realistic, touchable, and should be set according to the availability of resources and time. Setting up of high goals without analyzing limitations leads to stressful situation. Second is the social support. It is advised to maintain close relationship with relatives. At workplace, develop friendship with fellow workers because they can lend a hand in times of emergency and pressure. Societal support system can be easily built by adhering to the social functions, customs, and by engaging in religious activities, if any, at the workplace. This enables individuals to regain sulking self confidence and build self esteem. Then, physical fitness. It has been proved that individuals who exercise and so strengthen their stamina and cardiovascular system are a lot less likely to suffer from certain types of stress related illnesses. A regular physical activity like walking, swimming, running, jogging, light gymnastic exercises can keep a person fit and develop an ability to sustain greater level of stress. Using biofeedback. Biofeedback is a machine used to train people to detect and control stress related symptoms such as tense muscles and hypertension. Muscle relaxation and meditative techniques can also be used to combat stress. Cognitive restructuring. It's a practice of identifying and eliminating negative and stress inducing thoughts. It helps a person to develop more reasonable beliefs about the outcomes associated with certain events. Time management. Time management is one of the best methods of reducing stress. Life has become very fast. Everyone is pressed for time. There is a lot of multitasking and role playing. It's therefore necessary to plan the time adequately. For example, daily list of activities to be attended to should be prepared. Activities should be prioritized according to the importance and urgency. Activities should be scheduled according to the priorities set. Most important and demanding parts of the job should be done when one is most alert and productive. Then there are other techniques like muscle relaxation, deep breathing exercises, yoga, and meditation, and other physical techniques. These help in mind and body relaxation. Now, there are certain organizational level strategies which can be used to control the stress experienced by the employees at the workplace. For example, improvement in the physical work environment, job redesign to eliminate stressors, organizational goals must be in realms of achievement. Too much high goals not only put the employees under undue stress but also creates unhealthy work environment. Clearly defined policies of the organization with reference to training, development, promotion, leave, wage and salary administration, discipline, incentive, etc. clearly defined authority and responsibility in the organization, adherence to the principle of unity of command, setting up and following of proper channels of communication, improvements in organizational structure if the need be, changes in the workloads and deadlines, changes in the work schedules, provision of flexi hours and sabbaticals, encouraging employee participation in management. Then, employee empowerment and giving more autonomy to the employees. Career planning for managers, it must be developed and implemented in letter and spirit. Workshops for role clarity and role analysis should be organized at regular intervals. In addition to the strategies discussed above, some programs on stress management should be conducted in certain areas like team building, behavior modifications, career counseling, time management, enlightening employees about burnout stage of stress, training in relaxation techniques, and other physical fitness related programs. Then there is another measure to combat stress. It is called EAP. EAP means Employee Assistance Programs. EAPs deal with wide range of stress related problems, either work related or otherwise. EAPs are based upon four-pronged approach. One is diagnosis. Here the employees with stress related problems approach for help. The EAP staff helps them diagnosing the problem correctly. Treatment. Under this approach, after the correct diagnosis is made, counseling or sport therapy is provided to the employees to mitigate stress. If the need be, concerned employee is referred for professional consultation. Then there is screening. Screening entails periodic examination of employee in high stress jobs to detect early indicators of stress. And finally, prevention. Under prevention, education and persuasion are used to encourage employees who are in high risk group of stress to effectively cope with stress. So students, let's now summarize what we have learned. Stress is a dynamic condition in which a person is faced with lot of constraints while functioning in the organization. Stress causes discomfort, which leads to disequilibrium in the individual's mindset. Stress is not always negative in nature. Minimal level of stress is required for organizations to operate effectively. But extremely high stress is harmful for the individual as it causes mental and physical disequilibrium and subsequently leads to physical and mental disturbances. Stress causes frustration and anxiety. Stress can be managed by doing physical exercise, biofeedback, yoga, meditation, effective time management, and by living a simple life. Organizations can play a vital role in combating stress. Thank you.